Welcome everyone, this is David, and in this video we're going to be continuing to look at how to use Logos Bible software so that we can get it functional and you can begin to experience Logos and use it to maximize your penetration of God's Word and use it to the fullness of your capabilities to whatever suits your needs. So last time we looked at the ribbon up here at the top, the home dashboard, the library, the search, the docs, guides, tools, shortcuts, and the layouts. And so we looked at that, and this week this lesson, this video, we're going to look at the actual resources. And so I want to begin by going back over to the Logos web page. Make sure that you're able to select what is most appropriate for your needs. So we'll go over there, and when we get over there, we see we can drop down and we can look at the view base packages. So under the Bible software tab, you can view the base packages. And so when you want to get started, it gives you a couple options. You have the basic free option. This has 25 resources, and it includes the core engine and a few data sets with a few extra features, and so it's actually quite good. And so this is going to be suitable for someone who just wants to have like a mobile version and a desktop that are synced together, be able to read the Bible, highlight the Bible, search for your highlights to be able to find them quickly, and things of that nature. So that's going to be really useful for you. Excuse me, and then there is the fundamentals. And in the fundamentals, we have 50 resources, which is going to include more features and things like that. For standard users, these are going to be people who I would say are teachers and on up. So if you're looking at doing evangelism, you're looking at, because you need some apologetic resources perhaps, you're looking at teaching Bible class, maybe you're getting ready to go to seminary, you're a pastor, scholar, that type of stuff, this is where you would go. And they have the starter resource, they have bronze, they have silver, and they have gold, and they have a lot of other resources that go all the way up: platinum, diamond, portfolio, collection, and you can see the price goes on and on. So your starter package is $294, so that's pretty pricey. But your fundamentals package here with the beginners, that's only 99 bucks. So it's a bit of a jump. So you're free to 99 and then to 294. So it might feel a bit pricey to you, but it is worth it. It's something that if you think through what you use, you're really going to find it's very useful. So I went ahead and looked at the Logos 8 fundamentals for 99, and you have a lot of really cool resources. So you're going to have audio Bibles. So those of you who like to listen to the Bible in audio form, you're going to have some Bibles available to you that on your mobile or on your desktop, you can listen to the audio Bible. You do have some commentaries and dictionaries and some devotionals and things of that nature that are really useful. And again, this is all going to be in your pocket because it comes with the mobile app, so you're able to carry this with you at all times. Oops, don't want to hide that. All right. So, well, I'm not signed in, so that doesn't matter. Okay. So you're going to have 4 basic Bibles. It has the CSB, the ESV, the Lexham Bible, and the King James. Okay, so just right there, if you were to buy those separately, paper or digital form, that's 29 bucks. So you can see how this is going to save you a lot. In commentaries, they have a whole set of commentaries, including the New Bible Commentary, and we'll look at that a little bit more. And very useful commentaries to help you as a fundamental study of God's Word, to really help you get a good perspective on the Word. They have dictionaries, so you're going to have 5 different dictionaries. The Lexham Bible Dictionary is a very good dictionary. I love it. The Baker is good, so it's going to have a lot of really good, solid dictionaries. Some general studies that include a cultural handbook. So if you're wanting to study a little bit of the culture, that's one of the fundamental resources that you need for basic Bible exegesis. So you can see that this is going to help you get started and growing and going deeper. We also have devotionals and spiritual growth. So they've got some the morning and evenings by Spurgeon. They have a Connect the Testaments reading plan. So Streams in the Desert for those who are going through difficult seasons in life. A lot of great resources there, just included. So I love this. So you're going to have a lot of stuff. They include a study the Bible with Logos, and so they go through Jonah, chapter 1. And so this is kind of like a seminary course. It's a bit toned down, but they will actually go through, and so you're going to learn how to use Logos to study, for example, Jonah, and that comes included with this text. It also has a quick start video, and those are videos. So they're video lessons. They have the ESV and the Lexham English Bible in audio format. I personally think this is really useful. They include basic Bible interpretation and Bible word studies, a guide on that, which I have not looked at this particular guide, but that is something that I think anyone who's going to perform a word study does need a guide, because word studies can be quite dangerous. And I've actually seen people improperly do word studies in English and come to bad conclusions because they did not know how to do a word study properly. So if you're going to do them, it would be useful to have a guide. So you'll see they've got some systematic theologies, they've got church history, some lectionaries, some study Bibles, the CSB Study Bible Notes. I don't actually even have that. That's really cool. They have the atlases, maps and media. They have, so just read through this and you'll see everything that they have. The features, features are very important. So as you're getting to know Logos, I was frustrated with Logos in the beginning because I didn't understand how it works. And features are what allow you to make the most of the resources you had. So I was buying resources for a while, and then I wasn't able to use them very well. And features really help you use the resources you have. So you'll see that the fundamentals, the fuzzy Bible search, which we talked about in the last video, is not available in the free version, I don't think. Now, I might regret saying that, so let's go check. I would hate to rob you of something that would be there for you. So let's check and we'll let it load. Scroll down to their features. Features, here's the features. Does it have the fuzzy? No, it does not. So unless I'm missing something, it does not have that. But this will be included here in the fundamentals. And I personally feel like having basically the equivalent and better than the equivalent of both a search engine and a concordance right in my pocket to be able to look into is just totally worth it. I mean, I suppose I shouldn't tell Logos this, but I basically would spend $99 just for that. For me personally, I love being able to search the Bible that quickly and that effectively. So that's a very powerful tool. So you can read through that, and reading through it and just taking the time to go through this and look at the resources available to you, that's going to help you know what do you actually need. I also want to mention before we get into the Logos Bible software program that Logos is, I think they show a great deal of integrity in their business model. So if I buy For example, if I get the starter, which is free, and then I buy the Logos Fundamentals, okay, well now I have both of those together. And if I then want to upgrade and go to the next set, then it's going to take some of the price because I already have some of the features. And so it's going to reduce your price a little bit so that because you're not having to rebuy everything, in other words. And so what was it, 290, what was the next, 294? If you already own fundamentals, I don't know if they take the full 99 off or not, I'm not sure, but they do reduce that price significantly. So if you already own fundamentals, you won't pay 294. Just make sure you're signed in so that it knows who you are and it will know what your library is, and it'll actually update the price on the screen so you know what you would pay for it for that. So very, very cool. So I think that's enough. We can go into the Logos Bible software. So we'll pull up that. Now we can get into some of the actual resources. So right here on the left-hand side of your screen, we have the New American Standard Bible. I also have my CSB open, so those are my two Bibles that are open. So let's look at how to use this. Right here is your passage lookup list. Now, I suppose we should start with this. So if you wanted to, I never use this, but this is the table of contents. So you can open your table of contents, you can search through and go like that, chapter 1, and okay. So you can see how you could use that. I don't use that ever. I don't think this is probably the first time I've actually ever opened that because I don't need a table of contents. However, don't ignore it because you'll see when you click on that sandwich bar, and it pulls up this, we then have next to it here, notes and highlights, okay? Excuse me. Now, this is really cool. This is an index of your markings in this version. It doesn't port over to other versions. Every version has its own index. So all of your notes, I can look at my notes, and this will tell me the notes that I have taken, where I have taken them, on the text. So it brings up the text, and so this is actually the Bible verse. You'll see right here, that's the actual Bible verse. The note that I have taken is in that little yellow note. So what I wrote when I wrote this was the quote, one voice structural metaphor for unity is employed here in connection with worship to the Lord in his temple. All right, and so I can click on that, and that brings up my note, what I wrote. Okay, so you'll see over here. Now, again, don't be intimidated by this format and everything you're seeing here. Okay, I can explain this. It's it is actually an easy kind of workflow to work through. So these are some of my notes that I have taken on text, and you can see it was over a year ago that I wrote this. And unfortunately, I just don't use notes in Logos enough. I really need to. So I have my filters over here. These are all my filters that I've created. Actually Logos has created this for me. For the most part, the tags I've created, I'm the author and whatnot. But so I can select that. Now I have some formatting options for bold text and so on and so forth. Now, what is an anchor? Anchor is where this is going to be found. So when I'm reading through my Bible in my NASB, I'll see when I come to 2 Chronicles 5:13, I'll see a little yellow sticky note. So that's my anchor. That's where this appears. If I want to make this note appear in other places too, the same note anchored in multiple places, I can do that. I can add an anchor. All I got to do is input the reference, and that can be any reference anywhere, okay? And then it has my note and the tags that I have added, okay? So quite easy to add those notes. And so this allows me to very quickly develop my own study structure throughout the Bible. And so when I'm in the NASB, back over here on the left-hand side of our screen, the NASB tab, we have the notes and highlights section. So you can see that could be quite useful. In fact, as I'm going through this with you, I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I'm going to have to do this. I got to get back into it. So you can see here's Second Chronicles 5:13, and you'll see next to the verse is a yellow sticky note. So that tells me I have written a note there. Okay. Now we have this little search bar, and that's your primary navigation, because for the most part you're not going to want to use the index. So let's say I want to go to a passage. I'm in church. I'm on my mobile or something, or if you're weird and you bring a laptop to church, I don't know. That would actually be really cool. Nonetheless, let's say you want to go to, the pastor says, hey, jump over to Matthew 22:1. Now there's a couple ways to input that. You can do it the long way, Matthew 22:1. Okay, I can do that. That takes a little bit of typing. I can do the abbreviation Matthew. I don't have to capitalize. I don't have to put a period. Matthew, and it knows that's Matthew. 22:1. Okay, and it knows what I'm talking about, so it'll just come in. And there's actually a lot of ways. And so, if I didn't know that the proper abbreviation is MT, I could do MAT 22:1, and it would bring me over. Or I could do MAT, let's say 13, and it would just take me to verse 1 automatically. So it's actually intelligent. So it's able to guess pretty well what you're trying to say, which book you want to go to, as long as you get in the proper ballpark. Now you can do an inline search within the text. Okay, so instead of going up to your search bar in the ribbon, you can just click on that search. It's going to search in the section that you're in, and it can bring up whatever you want to try to find. So what's in Romans? Poured out love. I guess we could do a verse, and that's in Romans 5:5, and that's exactly the verse that I had in mind. Hope does not disappoint, because the love of God has been poured out within our hearts through the Holy Spirit who was given to us. So it'll find it for you within the text very quickly. Now, there are a lot of visual options. These are visual filters, and so you can choose what appears in your text when you're reading. Address labels. If I don't want that, I can take that off. Now, so there's now no address labels in the text. Okay, so I don't know if you can see that, but it's taking off some of these little labels that Logos puts in there. If I want to put everything in, now it's going to get big, right? So putting all that in there. So do you see how this is actually diagramming the sentence for you? So it's saying, okay, this is a sentence structure. This is a sub-point. Now, those of you who like to do biblical exegesis, oh wow, now you're getting really important feedback on what the text is doing, okay? Now, you can't see it on my screen. I just forgot you guys can't see this. If I hover over that word, now let me get back to my, okay, you are seeing at least you're seeing the blue text. So if I hover over that, it'll create a little drop-down box, and it'll give me a overview of what this means. So it says this, and it tells me where it comes from. So I have the glossary, the Lexham Dictionary glossary dictionary, and so it says sentence, and it defines what a sentence is for me. Now, if I hover over the TM, it says this is a temporal frame, the fronting of a temporal information to an initial position in the clause in order to establish a specific time frame for the clause that follows. Okay, and so it gives me a bunch of information. And so what this is doing is this allows me to develop the text. Now, I want to again note, I don't know what you guys have. If you're on the fundamentals package, you might not have this available. Okay, you might have to be on a higher package. So if that sounds overwhelming to you, remember what I said. Figure out what your needs are and what you want, and buy the package that you want, because this will not be available to you if you don't want it, or if you don't need it, if you buy a lower package. So we can go back to visual filters. You click on it, and so that was the discourse features in Greek. I turn that off, and those disappear. And so I typically like to remove most everything. Now we can do Bible text only, and you can choose within that. Do you want footers? Now if you want footers, so I just did that, and the footers are these, the little A, the superscript A, and that's a really cool thing, because if I hover my mouse over the A, it will pop up what the cross references are, and I can click on that, and then it creates a box, and I don't know if you can see this, creates a box that I can then move into, and I can click, and it will take me to that verse. Okay, so just by clicking, I can go straight over to the verse that is cross-referenced, and that's pretty cool. Now, I don't typically like that because it's just, for me, it's visual clutter. So I use this filter feature a lot, because when I want it, I just go up and I just enable it. But when I don't want it, I go, get rid of that. I turn off the footnotes, and now you see there's less visual clutter. Now, you can choose to see the chapter verse numbers. So if you have the mobile version, what you can do is you can actually turn off the verses. If you want to just read like a normal book and you don't want any of that kind of formatting, turn it off. You can just read the Bible, no verses at all. And I do actually recommend doing that sometimes, because verses are actually interpretations. Chapters and verses, those are human interpretations. And so sometimes it's useful. Not always. Please don't ignore them altogether. They are very useful, but it's sometimes nice to just read the Word of God by itself. If you are in, so the NASB comes default verse by verse. You'll notice the CSB does not. So on its filter, Bible verse only, one verse per line, I just changed the formatting of the CSB. It is now verse by verse. And so if I want the CSB, if I want to be able to read it in verse by verse format, I can do that just by going to the filter, visual filters, those three little dots, clicking on it. It brings down a box, and going under, so I can collapse, it's a collapsible menu, Bible text only, clicking on that, and then clicking one verse per line, or unclicking it, and it goes back to paragraph format. And I read the CSB in paragraph format because that's how it comes standard, and paragraphs actually communicate meaning. So it's very important. I like having both the NASB in verse by verse and then paragraph. The next thing you'll see on your Bibles, you'll notice over here on the right-hand side, my other resources don't have this, but on Bibles, you'll have this little Greek, these are two Greek symbols, and you can click on that, and that pulls up, voila, your interlinear. And interlinears are very useful. These are called reverse interlinears. It's not actually a real interlinear because it's keeping the way that the NASB translated it, or the way that the CSB translated it, and it's putting the Greek under the English. So that's useful. So it's going to tell you what is representing the word. So when you see, let me think about this for a moment. This is probably getting beyond basics, so let's not go into that. But that is available to you if you like. And you can choose, if you hit the arrow, you'll have some options. So you can choose what is visible when you pull up your interlinear. So some people, they really don't want the root transliterated. That's the English of the Greek. They might not want the manuscript transliterated. They might want the lemma, and maybe they don't want the morphology, but that's pretty useful, I think. So you can change what is visible. And these numbers here correspond to the Lunita numbers. So that's a bit more, I think, than probably most of us need. So let's close that out, but that is available to you. It's pretty cool. Another feature you can do is multiple resources in one screen. So I oftentimes like to have the ESV and the NASB side by side. Those are similar translation philosophies. And so I'll have them side by side. And they will track together. Now, unfortunately, the ESV comes in paragraph format. That's really annoying because the NASB is verse by verse. And so it doesn't scroll as smoothly together because of that. But if you have two similarly formatted text, it'll scroll together pretty well, and you'll like it. So I can see the two leading formal translations side by side, and that's pretty useful. I can turn that off when I don't want it. Now let's say I'm in the NASB and I don't want to have a bunch of different tabs open, and I go, you know what? I don't want to go in that. So I want to change version. Those two little slashes, I don't know what they're called, they give you similar resources, parallel resource sets. And so I can switch over, and maybe I want to do the New Revised Standard Version, which I really don't like. I can jump over to that and it'll show me that. So it's just a really good way to resource hop pretty quick. So love that. Now we've already covered the search feature in the previous one because the search feature properly belongs in the tab, or sorry, the ribbon. And so we covered that a bit more, but I did want to note that if you want to pull up the search bar without entering anything, you can go up to the ribbon, click on the magnifying, and it will open a search bar, and it's not searching anything. So it just gives you your options. And so I can go, let's see, clause, what do I have? And so you can browse this and it'll give you options for what's available. And so for example, in the Bible, if I want to search, and I pull this up in plain without having performed a search yet, then it'll give me search helps. So type all the words you want to find. Super simple. Put in exact phrases in a quotes. Okay, so if you know the exact phrase of something, then put it in quotes, and it's going to search only that phrase. And that's really useful. It cuts down a lot of the searches. So when you're searching like on Google or Bible Gateway, it's kind of why I stopped using Bible Gateway. There's no real way to filter your search. And so sometimes I know what I want, I just can't quite figure out exactly where it is. And so you can put that in, it'll bring it up real fast. To type Greek or Hebrew, that's a bit more advanced, but you can do G:, and then the Greek text that you're searching, or H: for Hebrew. All right, so we'll get out of that. The search is fairly, I think, intuitive. It should be fairly easy to use. Now, what comes with some of the fundamentals? Here's a really cool resource that I use as a pastor all the time. The New Bible Commentary. It's one of its editors is D.A. Carson, who I really respect, and it's a very solid resource. And what it does is it's a single volume commentary. So for those of you who are not familiar yet with the different types of commentaries, you have three categories primarily. You have single volume commentaries. They cover the whole Bible, or at least a whole section, maybe the New Testament or Old Testament, but the most popular today is the whole Bible. And so they give summaries, and that's really useful. You really need to be able to have a bird's eye view. And so when I'm coming to a text and I'm reading it, it helps me to be able to read the New Bible Commentary, and get a bird's eye view of the text, and make sure that I have at least comprehended the overview right. And so what happens is sometimes I don't agree with them. To be honest, sometimes I have come across texts where I go, I go a different direction than you. But now I know somebody disagrees with me. And that's very important because now I can go, okay, now I need to really dig in further. First, to validate and verify that I'm not in error. And secondly, other people might have questions for me about this. And so I need to be able to answer those questions and think through my own position. So it helps me spot mistakes that I might have made, helps me spot things that need more attention. So that's kind of as a pastor. But for you, as perhaps maybe you're just interested more in devotional study and basic study, this is an awesome, awesome, awesome commentary. Really helps you to keep an eye on the big picture. If you get too close to the text, you're missing the message that is being given. Wonderful resource. Absolutely love it. It has some of the same things. So inline search, you can search within this. So searches are not performed only in the Bible. You can search all of your resources. Visual filters, you can choose what you would like to have represented. You can do parallel resources. So if you have another single volume commentary that you would like to compare what they say, totally able to do that. You can resource hop. And so this time, instead of bringing up the Bible, it brings up all of your commentaries. Look at all those commentaries that I have. Just a bunch of commentaries I can jump through if I need to. So that's New Bible Commentary. And that one is in the Fundamentals package. Now this was one of the first ones I bought. I bought it separately, and you can see I've actually already gone. It tells you how much you've gone through of each resource. Well, you can't see it because it's, if I hover over the title, it'll bring up an introduction to the book. I can rate the book. I've given this 4 stars out of 5. And it tells you how much you have read of the commentary or of the resource. And I've already gone through 29%. So I've used this heavily. So I can enter in a word. This is a topical search. It's called the New Naves Topical Bible. I actually like the New American Standard Indexed better, but the Naves is really powerful. And so I can enter in a word. So let's say wrath. If you want to search the wrath of God, brings up, see anger, subsection God, anger of. Okay, so click on that. And this gives you some intro into the topic of anger, but we were told to search under of God. Okay, anger of God. All of these verses. And all I got to do is hover over the text, and it will bring a drop-down box, which I know you can't see, and it will show me the verse. And so Deuteronomy 32:21 says, "They have provoked my jealousy with what is not a god. They have enraged me with their worthless idols. So I will provoke their jealousy with what is not a people. I will enrage them with a foolish nation." Oh, that's an awesome verse. I need to remember that. So you can see this is a great way to study. Now I mentioned the New American Bible Index. Let me go to my resources, pull that up. Now I don't know the full name of this resource, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in index because I know that's in the name. There it is, and the name is the NASB Topical Index. That's the proper name. I'll pull that up. Wrath. Now it actually has the wrath, and it also can hyperlink you to anger, judgment, or punishment if you want. But wrath of God, and you see it's a lot more organized. And so that's why I like the NASB Topical Index. This is by far my favorite. I've gone through 47% of the NASB Topical. So I've read through 47% of the topics included in this resource, which is a ton. So you can see I use it a lot. So it gives you really good organized view. And so if you want this, by the way, so if you buy the fundamentals and you go, but man, I really want the NASB Topical Index and it doesn't come with fundamentals, you can go to Logos Store and you can buy it there. And I can't remember how much it is, but it's probably like 19 bucks, maybe $9. I can't remember, something like that. It's probably pretty low, so it's pretty affordable. Good resource that you can use. And again, visual filters, you have the option of parallel resources. So I could, if I wanted to, have the NASB and the NAVES side by side. And of course, you can jump between one. So I could have technically done that instead of searching my library. Okay. So I'm going to pull that over here. This is how I organize my study, by the way. Bibles are always on the left for me. Commentaries and everything else are on the right. I'm just so used to it. Now you have a dictionary, a Bible dictionary again. You have your sandwich filter, all of your notes and highlights. As you can see, I haven't taken any. And then a table of contents. And for your dictionaries, that can be useful. So it's organized alphabetically. So you can pull up the W, scroll down, find the R, and you can go to Wrath, and it has a sub-menu, bibliography. Okay. So Wrath, you can pull up Wrath, and that's going to go in-depth into the topic of wrath. So Hebrew, Ma, Abra, Kasef, and I don't speak Hebrew, so that's my best guess. Greek, Thymos, and Orge. So the response of a holy, just God to that which does not meet his standards of holiness, namely sin. That's the introduction that they give. All right, so you can go through and you can get a scholarly analysis of the wrath of God. Quite useful, especially if you are dealing with a specific topic and you want to go a bit deeper. Now, I think this is probably a intermediate concept, so maybe not quite beginners, but there are several different types of Bible dictionaries. There is a general Bible dictionary, and that's what the Erdman Bible Dictionary is, the Baker Encyclopedia. Encyclopedia and dictionary, same thing in Logos. There might be some difference, I'm not sure, but for all intents and purposes, it's the same. So there's a general dictionary, and that's just going to give basic general ideas. There are cultural dictionaries. There are linguistic dictionaries. There are theology dictionaries, so dictionary of theology. There's also dictionaries of biblical theology. A dictionary of theology is systematic theology. A dictionary of biblical theology is just that. It's biblical theology. It traces the development of a theological concept through the canon of Scripture. Whereas a systematic theology dictionary, it's going to focus on harmonizing the concept theologically together. So those are all useful, and of course, Logos has them available. So I have, for example, the New International Dictionary of New Testament Theology and Exegesis. That's basically a linguistic theology with a bit of a linguistic dictionary with a bit of theology in it. I've got Mounce's Expository Dictionary, Vine's Expository Dictionaries. I've got Erdman, Baker, a thematic dictionary. We'll get to that one in a moment. So you can see there's a lot of different types of dictionaries that you can have. They're all very useful. So I'm a big fan of dictionaries. Now this is a thematic dictionary, and it's similar to the topical index. In fact, I would probably say it is a topical index. And this is one that I have started using a lot just because of how well organized it is. So if we want to look up wrath here, I probably should have picked a happier subject. Now, this one does not have an entry for wrath. So you will have to try to find anger and then subcategory divine. Okay, the anger of God. This is probably what you're going to mean by wrath anyway. And so it's got a few verses. Now notice, it's not exhaustive. This does not go as in-depth as the other two topicals that I have. but you can see it gets to the heart of it. And so if you want a quick reference, it's very good. Okay, I think that's enough for that. So you're also going to have commentaries, and we mentioned the three different types of commentaries. You have the single volume commentary, you have a single book commentary, so it's written on the book of Ephesians. Sometimes those will include, like, for example, the pastoral epistles. You might not get away with having a single commentary on First Timothy, but they might cover the pastorals together, but they would still fall into that category. And so what that is, it's written by a scholar who specializes in that book, and they target that. And then oftentimes those are parts of a set. And so the Expositor's Bible Commentary is a set that covers every book in the Bible. I believe they actually have released all of the books. And they have scholars who have specifically written in their area of expertise. And so I think even a beginner would want to eventually get to the point where they have one set that it's a multi-volume commentary on the Bible, because it's going to go a lot more in depth. The single volumes, they're not as in depth. They're going to cover a lot. So look at verse 9 covers. They have this much. So they've got like 3 sentences on verse 9. Okay, not very much. But for the EBC, if I want to go over to 1 Corinthians 5:9, you have all of this on verse 9. You've got 2 paragraphs. And so they give a pretty good treatment of that verse. So it's useful for you. Okay? So that is a good introduction to the basic use of your tabs. And so here's how I will use it when I'm reading a text. Let me close. Well, now let's see. Let's go to 1 John, where I am. What am I in? Verse 11. All right, so hate. But the one who hates his brother is in the darkness and walks in the darkness. Okay? Now, I can go over here. Oh, yes, I forgot to tell you guys this. So we're not done with this. We also want to look at the format. You can connect this. This will save you a lot of time. So let's be on our Bible over here on the left-hand side of the screen. The 3 dots, you can pull that up, and you have a couple options. You can change the size of the text, make it smaller, make it bigger. I have very bad eyesight, so I tend to go a bit big. You can create a link set, and these are resources that always follow each other. So if I make the New American set A, you'll see a A right there. I can then tell the New Bible Commentary to follow my NASB. So I click it, I make it set A. It is now set A. And you're going to see that they follow. All right, so now it jumped over to 1 John 2, and it tells me that verse 11 is part of the pericope of chapter 2, verse 7 through 11. Okay, and so here is my section. 7 through 8 is there. 9 through 11. So this section deals with what I'm at. That gives me a sort of bird's eye overview. If anyone hates his brother, he is on the wrong track. Let him say whatever he will. A track that can only lead to the ruin, for hatred blinds the eyes. The repetition of darkness is important. Okay, now that's really good. If you don't just skim the commentary, you'll get a lot out of this. That's actually very true. John writes, and he uses the literary marker of the literary mechanism of repetition to emphasize the most important points in his book. So we must not miss the connection between hate and darkness, right? All right, now, so that gives you a little bird's eye view. I can go to my EBC, make it part of set A. It's going to follow over, give me that section, and I want to go down to verse 11. It'll follow me, and so I have this paragraph, and I can read that and study it. But now, maybe I go, well, I want to look at the theology a bit more. Okay, go to your dictionary, type in darkness, and Erdman's has a list on darkness. Now, here's a cool thing. It's going to tell you how is the metaphor of darkness employed in the Old Testament? How is it employed in the New Testament? Okay, so you can study that, and you can begin to get an idea of how this concept is used throughout the Scripture. Now maybe you want to illustrate that a little bit. Well, you can go over to your topical, pull up darkness, and now you have categories, and you can look at all the references, and it's quite good. Now, the Naves tends to be the most exhaustive, most thorough. Look at all that. Tons and tons. Look at all that. Just tons of references, but they're not as well organized, but figurative. I mean, you can just study this for hours. And so this is a great way for you to use your text, your logos. Okay, so you can begin to see how you're reading the Bible, and so you go, man, you know what? John has repeated darkness 3 times in this verse. 1, 2, 3. Wow, look at that. Well, maybe I need to study that. So then you go look at deeper, and then if you want, you go to your search bar in the ribbon, and you can type darkness. I don't know why I have caps lock on. And it pulls up basic, which is exactly what I needed. So somehow it knew. It gives me the fuzzy Bible research option in case I was searching for a particular one. And then it gives me all of the resources in my library. Look at that. I can go hover over the title. There it is. It pops it down. I can see what I need. Okay, so I can go through and I can study this. And so based on your library, you can go as far as your library has. Anything that your library deals with, you'll be able to access very quickly, very efficiently, and get your head around those resources, which is very useful. Now, I don't want to necessarily get into all this, but when you pull down your tools, they have a lot of things that are quite useful. So let me pull up the highlighter. That's one that I think you will all be interested in. So I pulled that up on the right-hand side of the screen. Let me check my recorder. Okay, it's sort of blocked behind me. But for the most part, you can see the highlighters. And so if I'm in a text, do you believe that I can do this? Matthew 9:28. I can highlight that, pulls it up, and it's highlighted. And now, technically, if I want to do a search, I can search my yellow highlighters. It will be in my yellow highlights for my CSP. So you can do all kinds of highlights. You can choose the type of highlighter that you want. You can do emphasis markup. So they said, yes, Lord, box. Now you see on my text, now I've boxed it. Now, I don't know that that's what you would want to do there, but you certainly could. Exclamation. In fact, maybe I want to do an exclamation there. Okay? So I marked my own text. Yes, Lord. So pretty cool, right? I mean, you can start to really get, you can do some good, solid, inductive study. If I want to do outline the text, you see, I'm actually changing the format of the text to make it stick out to me. So when I'm reading, maybe on my mobile phone, you know, that's a useful feature, I think. Now, what if you make a mistake? Go up here and you just erase it and it's gone. And I'm going to do that because I don't typically do this type of study to my text. I just use the highlighters. And you have solid colors. You can change the text itself. So if you want to change the color of the text, you can do that. Oh, now it's blue. Okay, so lots of inductive study options for you, and I think that is valuable to us. That's not how I use this because for me, I can't get away from this. I use my paper. This is actually not the one I use, but it's the one that's on my desk. So I use my paper versions to study, and I've just been doing that for so long. All of my notes are there, and like I said, I always keep saying, "Man, someday I'm gonna get time where I can open this thing up and I can go in and I can go, man, yeah, like I can take this and I can start to transpose it into my Logos, but I don't have time to do that. So this is what I would really highly recommend. If I had it available to me, I would have been doing it a long time ago. Let me think real quick before we finish this. I think that's going to be all. And so if you guys have other questions about Logos, or if you would like to see more, and you would like to see some intermediate stuff, and kind of tease out some of the different things that can be done with Logos, let me know in the comments, and I would be happy. If there's a few of you who want that, I'd be happy to do it and dig deeper into this. I basically live in Logos. I mean, it's open 24/7. I'm in it every single day. I love Logos. It's very powerful. It makes everything so much easier about studying. And I'm not joking. I mean, it has cut my study time in half just because everything that I used to do manually, I now have it as a form that I'm able to get it done much so faster. And that's worth a lot to me. It's freed up a lot of time for the more meaningful part of Bible study, which is prayer and reflection, meditating in the text. And so for me, some might say, well, now what if this distracts you from actually knowing God? And certainly that is a danger that is with any type of tool that you have, including your TV. And I would actually say your TVs, YouTube, social media are a far bigger threat to your spiritual walk with Christ because they distract you more. But you are right. And so for me, this has freed up so much of my time because I can get the same amount of work done in a fraction of the time. It is done so much more efficiently. And so I have far more time to spend meditating on the Word, reflecting, coming into the presence of God, and praying. And I have learned to bake prayer into every aspect of my study. And so it takes some time, but so I'm going through this and I'm praying and reflecting and meditating. And Logos does not distract me from that. As I've grown and learned how to use it, it's become second nature. And for me, it's just like opening a book. We wouldn't say the Bible distracts us from God because, we're opening a book. Well, Logos is much the same way for me. So let me know if you like this. Please like and share this video if it's been beneficial. I want to hear your feedback. What did you like? Always useful to hear your feedback. And if you want more of these videos, let me know, and I'll be happy to go deeper into Logos Bible software. But I thought this would be useful for those of us who are really wanting to learn how to dig deeper into the Word of God. So you can get Logos for free with 25 resources. You can buy individual resources, or you can buy a package, which is what I would recommend to start with, and begin to grow. And you'll use this throughout your whole life. And so it's a wonderful tool. And so God bless you guys. I hope your study is blessed through using Logos. And until next time, may Christ captivate.